Did you know that women weren't required to be included in clinical trials until the 90s? That means that most of modern medicine was built on studies that largely ignored half of the population. This information quoted to you by Eve, How the Female Body Drove 200 Million Years of Human Evolution by Cat Bohannon. She says, from 1996 to 2006, more than 79% of animal studies published in the scientific journal Pain included only male subjects. Before the 90s, the stats were even more disproportionate, and dozens of prominent scientific journals report the same. Unless we're specifically researching parts of the female body, ovaries, uteri, estrogen, breasts, women aren't there. Kat found that in her own research, many papers didn't even mention that they only use male subjects. She had to often email the authors and directly ask. She goes, think about the last time you heard about a study, obesity, pain tolerance, memory, aging. More than likely, those studies did not include female subjects. This is true for mice as it is for dogs, pigs, monkeys, and all too often humans. By the time a clinical trial for a new medication starts being tested on human subjects, it might not have been tested on female animals at all. She says many researchers default to male subjects for practical reasons. Female bodies are difficult to control because of their cycles with complex soup of hormones fluctuating, whereas male sex hormone seems to be a bit more stable. She says good scientific experiments aim to be simple, designed with as few confounding factors as possible. Just makes it easier to do clean science is what she was once told. She says the variables, in other words, are easier to control, thereby making the data more interpretable with less work. Taking the time to control for the female reproductive cycle is considered difficult and expensive. The ovary itself, she says, is considered a confounding factor. Thus, trials without females means experiments run faster, the papers come out sooner, the researcher is more likely to get funding and tenure. I like what she said. Female bodies aren't just male bodies with extra stuff. She goes, thanks to regulations established in 1970, clinical trials in the United States are actually strongly advised not to use female subjects who could be of childbearing age. Using pregnant subjects is especially forbidden. While on the surface, that may seem reasonable, no one wants to mess with our kids and our offspring, it also means that we've been, as she said, continuing to steer the ship in a fog. She goes, the National Institute of Health managed to update some of these regulations in 1994. The loopholes are still regularly exploited. As of 2000, 1 in 5 NIH clinical drug trials still wasn't using any female subjects. And the studies that did, nearly 2/3 didn't analyze for sex differences. Even if everyone actually followed the new rules, it usually takes about 10 years for drugs to move from clinical trial to market. So 2004 was the first year that any new drug approved for sale would have been tested on significant numbers of women. Drugs released before 1994 are not obligated to go back and redo their trials. So the majority of subjects in clinical trials continue to be men. It begs the question then, when women are prescribed medication, how are their bodies reacting differently over men?